How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Halftime Habaneros, joined by yourself, Matt, and Mr. Justin. Justin, how you doing today?
Oh, you already know, man. NBA playoffs are just about here. My Lakers, hey, they got the L the other day, but we playing well, man. So I'm loving life.
Hey, I'm with you with the Bulls. Guys, really fast before we do get in this episode, make sure you check out Spicy Slips, check out Champions Round, Daily Dozen, Seven Stakes, all that stuff. There's going to be so much fun stuff with the NBA playoffs right around the corner. Now, Justin, the first thing I want to talk to you about is the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks picked up a huge win last night against the Kings. Now they need the Thunder to lose to the Jazz. And we're sitting, 2 games left? It's going to be really tight here.
This thing's going to be tight. 2 games left in the season, and it's like the Dallas Mavericks need all the right outcomes to happen. I don't even know them off the top of my head, but I know they're trying to get in. They've slid all the way down from this 3rd seed, Matt. It's crazy because they went from the 3rd seed all the way to out of the play-in just in a matter of not even a lot of time. It's been, 20, 30 games that this has happened. Yeah. So their decline has been crazy. They've talked about Luka is visibly frustrated right now. I don't know what's going on with this team or this scenario, but it doesn't look good. They had a 6% chance to make the play-in.
Yeah, I think, the Dallas Mavericks downfall has kind of summed up the Western Conference this year. It's been so tight. And for me personally, I want to see the Mavericks in. I know a lot of people don't like the Mavericks, but I think, just seeing them in the play-in tournament is exciting. Luka, Kyrie. And now they need the Oklahoma City Thunder to lose tonight because they both have the same record. OKC controls the tiebreaker. And if the Thunder lose to the Jazz, then they control their own destiny. So it's going to be really exciting here towards the end of the season. I'm going to personally be rooting that they can get in just because I want to see some Luka magic come playoff time. But we'll see what OKC does.
The Luka magic, we need the star power, man. I'm gonna be real. OKC, we don't need to see you in the playoffs. We can OKC you later. We can see you next season. We need to see Luka and Kyrie. What can they do, man? I think the league really needs to see this, and the Mavs need to see this, man, because they made a pretty good investment. At the deadline, going and getting Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith and going and acquiring Kyrie Irving. That's a big move for a franchise, and they didn't get him extended. It's like they put all their eggs in this basket working, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's not working at all.
No.
So I want to see this team in the playoffs. What can they do together? Can this tandem really work? And I think we've been deprived of Kyrie and KD. We've been deprived of Kyrie on the Celtics. We've been deprived of a lot of these great pairings. And to see Luka and Kyrie not work because, Matt, if it goes to the offseason, Kyrie is gone. Yeah. There's no way Kyrie's staying with Dallas.
No, and I would even extend on that. You think about how many times we've seen Kawhi and Paul George play in the playoffs or, LeBron and Anthony Davis. There's all these duos coming into the season or even, you got when the Brooklyn Nets, when they had Kyrie and they had Harden and Durant, how many games did they actually play in the playoffs? It was someone got injured and then, it's just, I think for basketball and as a basketball fan and as a basketball show, I think the idea of the Mavericks getting in is just exciting and something that would be great for the league.
I'm not going to lie. The selfish me wants to see them in so we can have something to talk about. I don't want to talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the OKC. We know they're not trying to win a title, but it's with Luka and Kyrie, if they get in, anything can happen.
No,
they can go beat Minnesota. They can go beat whoever loses that 7-8 seed. They can go win a series.
Yeah. Think of last night they played the Sacramento Kings and they were 6-point favorites. That's crazy. That's insane to me.
For a team that's not going to make the playoffs. And then there goes Kyrie dropping 19 in the 4th quarter to give his team the win, bro. We got to see this because superstar players do superstar things in the playoffs. We've seen this many, many times. So I'm all for it. I want to see it happen.
I think, Justin, I might change subjects here for a second, but it's only because I'm going to forget about it. I just have to tell you something. I'd like to make this very clear. The Bulls aren't going to get out of the East, right? Nothing's going to happen there. The Los Angeles Clippers after last night are going to be my playoff team. No hard feelings to you whatsoever.
Oh, I see. Now the personal shots are coming because I've been taking them at you, so now you're getting them back at me, right?
I like the Clippers, and I like Kawhi, and I think they're a fun team to watch. And I need someone to root for because, the Bulls season has been so depressing. I thought I'd just get that out of the way right now.
So let me ask you this, though. You say you're going to root for him. What if Paul George doesn't come back? Because Paul George on the shelf right now, They're talking about he may miss the first round. That's a big piece.
That is a huge piece. But I think, their bench scored 60 points last night. They didn't have Covington. Morris didn't play. Like, this team is deep. And I do believe, in terms of matchups, I agree. You go up against Golden State or something like that, and you're going to need Paul George. But I think this is a team that could slide by. I think no matter what happens, it's going to be a close series. I never, ever count Kawhi Leonard out. If he's healthy, I think the Clippers always have a chance.
You can give them one series to watch basketball, Matt. That's not a long time to watch. They're going to be out in the first round. I'm not giving them any wins, any playoff series wins against Golden State, against the Suns, against the Kings. The Clippers are going to get bounced early in the first round. We'll talk about that another time, though.
And I could have taken the Suns because I lived in Phoenix for 5 years, but I took the high road and went with the Clippers. I took the high road and went with the Clippers.
You should have took the Suns, man, because the Suns are going to be a scary out. The Western Conference is getting kind of crazy, man. And, one of the teams we haven't really even been talking about a lot, the Memphis Grizzlies. It's like ever since the Jaw stuff, they've just been floating, chilling under the radar. Jaw's laid low, except for these highlight dunks he keeps throwing out. My goodness. That might have been the dunk of the year. Yeah. I mean, he went, it didn't look like he kind of casually walked into a two-person body. John, where does he get it from? He's 6'2".
I know. And I don't know if you've seen these images that the NBA started posting of the shadows. That is that is such an awesome thing that the NBA has added. I don't know. I feel like Memphis is kind of, ever since the Jaw situation, someone must have talked to that team. Yeah. Someone had to have talked to them.
Wake up call.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know. What are your thoughts on Memphis? Is this a team that you think could go on a run in the West?
This team, man. I think they can beat some teams that they're not supposed to, but I think against the more veteran savvy teams, they may struggle. And it sucks because they're getting that 2 seed, right? Mm-hmm. So as the 2 seed, they preferably, in my opinion, need to see either New Orleans or maybe OKC, Minnesota. They can't get a Lakers matchup. I think that it would be a death sentence for this Memphis team. They would get bounced in the first round. And it's not for the fact that I don't think they're good. I think this is a good team. It's just when you have the superstars that come in there on the Lakers, I don't know if Jaren Jackson can keep up with AD. I don't know if Ja can keep up with LeBron's production. So the Lakers are just kind of an anomaly down there. And it sucks because they're that 2 seed. They're going to get the winner of that 7-8 matchup. So it has to be, if the Lakers right now, with the way they're playing and they're currently sitting in the 7th spot, it's either going to be the Lakers, it might be the Golden State Warriors. That might be a bad matchup for Memphis. So while they've kind of laid low under the radar, I like that part of it, but I am heavily concerned about Memphis. They are very matchup dependent if they're going to win their first series or not.
And I personally want to see that Warriors Grizzlies just with Clay and oh my gosh, the talking.
Dre and Dylan Brooks.
Oh my God, and Brooks.
Yet again?
Oh come on, feed us. I feel like you could say that about there's so many series out there that especially in the West, where you're like, man, if we could somehow get, it's not going to happen, but a Suns Mavs series, and you got Kyrie versus Durant, you got Luka versus Booker. There's so many Clippers Lakers. I feel like this postseason has potential to be just absolutely incredible.
You mentioned those the pictures above the backboard, right?
Yeah.
We saw Jaws, but the better one, and this is probably why you probably got bullied into being a Clippers fan for the postseason. Russell Westbrook is just screaming his lungs out on the bottom of the floor. You see all the veins popping out of his neck. He's just like, ah! But that shot, man, it was incredible because you could see the passion. They got to do more of those overhead shots, bro.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be Westbrook. What are your thoughts on the Westbrook, the fact that how much has he really helped this Clippers team? Do you think he's going to be an essential piece come playoff time?
Now, I think the tides have turned, right? So when he was on the Lakers, he was the third piece coming off the bench, had to deal with AD, LeBron. One of them was out. Then he didn't want to play his role as a starter. When he got traded to the Clippers, now he is the starting player, right? He knows his role. The problem is when Kawhi and Paul George are both there, he's the third piece again. Yeah. I don't think that's sustainable for a guy like Russ. And Paul George, he brings the ball up. Sometimes he can be ball dominant, whereas Kawhi is a little bit more okay with being off ball, getting the ball in the high post. With Paul George out now we see Russ able to handle the ball, be the second option with Kawhi, who's not such a ball dominant player. They work well together. it's actually working. And Russ has taken this role. He's taking care of the basketball. He's playing at a higher level. So I think with Paul George out, we're seeing a much better version of Westbrook. But when Paul George comes back, will that throw a wrench in everything?
Yeah. I like to, for me, like what always just thrown me off a little bit, and something that I feel like the Clippers have done a great job of, and I think Ty Lue's a great coach, is like Russell Westbrook is such a heavy driver. Like he'll drive to the hoop, and the Clippers are filled with shooters. You know, everyone on that team can shoot, and he'll kick the ball out. And, you know, maybe one night Batum goes 4 of 7, or, you know, you got Covington in the corner, or Eric Gordon, or like, you know, you got all these guys that can hit shots, like, you know, Powell, like it's working. But like you said, what happens when Paul George returns, and how does that affect things?
That'll be a big question mark for this team, because they're ready. And I think this Clippers team can work. It's just a matter of, we've seen Russ not be comfortable with his role, and he doesn't look like the same player. He looks like a player that hurts your team in that role. So if we can get Russ to play at a higher level, okay, now I'm looking at this Clippers team as a threat. But they've got to figure that out against probably the best team in the Western Conference, which is the Phoenix Suns, not the Denver Nuggets, the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, no, I don't even know. I know earlier in the week when Durant was on the floor, this team still hadn't lost yet. Is that still the case? They still haven't lost. Like it just shows you, like, the Suns theoretically should be the favorite. Like, you know, when healthy.
I don't see how they're not. Like, I don't see how the Suns are not the favorites now. I know we haven't talked a lot about Denver, and they've just been kind of coasting for most of the season as the #1 seed. But this Phoenix Suns team with Kevin Durant is the best team in the West. Yeah. And I said this on the deadline. I said this multiple times since then. You can't stop Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton in the pick and roll, KD and Devin Booker on the wings. Yeah. And neither of them really needs to be a ball-dominant player either. Both of those guys are going to drop 30 consistently in the playoffs. And then guess what? You want to double them. You want to guard them. Guess you got Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton.
How do you deal with that? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
There's a lot of teams like in the West that I think can keep up. They're just going to be a hard out, because Kevin, you don't just add arguably a top 3 scorer of all time to a team, and now they're just the same team. Like they were already, this team was already a playoff team, a championship contending type team. And now you add a piece like KD, it has a lot of feel to that Warriors team. I know it's not the 73-9 Warriors, but it has a very similar feel to how you just add a player of that caliber in the middle of the season.
Would you say now, like looking back on this, was that the best fit for Durant at the deadline?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because he could have went, I forget the other teams they were talking about. Memphis was another team that they were potentially talking about, but it didn't matter. Like, this fit at the time, you were like, okay, they already had the big 3.
Yeah.
Booker, CP3, DeAndre Ayton. Now this is a big 4.
Yeah.
This is a big 4. And the only other team that I can think of right now that has a 4 like that on the Western Conference is Denver, with MPJ, Jamal Murray, Jokic, and Aaron Gordon. And that's not the same caliber as this Phoenix big 4. The Eastern Conference, though, the Bucks, man, they kind of have, I mean, with Brook Lopez, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Giannis, they kind of have a big 4. But other than that, I don't really see a team with just like that many studs.
Yeah. And speaking of the Milwaukee Bucks, I don't know so last night the Bulls played the Bucks, and Giannis didn't play.
How'd that go for you?
Allen didn't play. You know, I thought we agreed not to talk about the actual game.
Just want to casually scroll right over the fact of what happened. I'm just interested in what happened, Matt.
It was a disappointing game, to say the least. I'm ready for the Bulls to, you know, fire Billy Donovan and move on from whatever they've constructed over there in Chicago. But the big storyline was Chris Middleton leaving the game with he re-aggravated knee soreness. It looks like he's going to sit out the rest of the regular season. How does that affect Milwaukee come playoff time?
They need him. We saw this team early in the season without Chris Middleton. We saw them in the playoffs last year without Chris Middleton, and it's not the same team. He's a closer. He's another scorer for this team. And yeah, Brook Lopez can take an elevated role. Yeah, Drew Holiday can take an elevated role. But this team is so much better with Chris Middleton on the floor. As we've seen here in the second half of the season, they've been a tough team to beat with Chris Middleton back and fully healthy now. So I think this team really needs, as much as Giannis is potentially an MVP candidate, as much as Drew Holiday has ascended, as much as Brook Lopez continues to defy age and everything and expectations, he's played at a defensive player of the year type level all season. Let's not lose that point. But Chris Middleton is a very important piece. He's an Olympian. He's somebody who has seen an NBA championship. They absolutely need him now. The good thing is they're probably going to get like the Atlanta Hawks first round, so it won't be too much of an issue. I think they can handle them even without Chris Middleton if he had to miss the series. But this team was not going to be able to make it through the Celtics, Sixers, some of these tougher battles without Chris Middleton.
Yeah, I think I want to go back on the Brook Lopez thing because like I don't understand like the evolution of Brook Lopez. Like like I honestly don't. Like
yeah.
I like from when he started to where he's at now, you know, he's a great three-point shooter. He plays incredible defense. Like there must have been something that I would love to hear his story on that. And
it's weird because like when he was in Brooklyn, he was good, right?
Yeah.
We saw I think he was like 20 and probably like 6 boards and probably 2 or 3 blocks back then. Then he kind of like almost journeyman for a while. We saw him on the Lakers for a while and he kind of looked like the same player, but he's had a career resurgence with Milwaukee. And, you know, a lot of times with bigger players, with 7-footers, they start to slow down. But because of his style of play, it's like he's actually been able to extend his career out because he's not a true back to the basket type center in the low block. Like he shoots 3-pointers. Yeah. He can drive. Like he's not the most agile guy, but he can if he needs to. And then on defense, he's one of the best rim protectors in all the league. Yeah. So when I look at Brook Lopez, I'm like, man, he's got to be 34, 35 years old at this point, still playing at a very high level for a position that has, you know, the traditional center has kind of gone away.
Yeah, it has. And last thing I want to speak on is after the game, some of the fans were asking Jay Crowder if he's ready to be on the right side of Bucks and 6, which I thought was kind of funny. He was like, yeah. So again, another Jay Crowder, another great piece. You know, he's especially come playoff time, like Crowder's going to be a dog and someone you want on your team.
Hell yeah. And he has experience. You know, they're probably going to they might go up against Miami. That's another team that they could face in that 8 seed matchup. Like Miami, he has a little intel on them as well. So I like Drake Carter, man, and he's a valuable piece. They might see the Suns, like you mentioned, Bucks and 6 against the Suns again would be a dope NBA Finals.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, sir. Well, that does it for this episode of Halftime Habaneros. You guys make sure you download the Champions Round app, subscribe to the channel, and check out more of our episodes, guys. We're going to be doing playoff previews, so make sure you tune into those. For Justin and Matt, we'll see you on the next one. Peace out.